Masters, masters, masters of change.
Hello there. Welcome to Masters of Change. My name is Kim Cunio, and I'm the head of the Australian National University's School of Music. I'm here with my good friend Charlie Hogg, and Charlie is the director of the Brahma Kumaris here in Australia. Welcome, Charlie.
Thank you, Kim. Great to be here.
We've been having great discussions lately about beliefs. What are our spiritual beliefs, Charlie?
You know, our spiritual beliefs, I think, Kim, are like our core beliefs. And these are really about our intrinsic self. We have acquired beliefs that often limit myself, that I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable. But my spiritual beliefs are really things like, I am a soul, and I'm eternal. And I think when I sort of base my thinking and perception on my spiritual beliefs, everything starts to come back in perspective. And a lot of these acquired or inherited beliefs, which have really distorted my view, like I believe a certain group of people aren't good people, or they're bad, or they're inferior, or something like that. I let go a lot of that because I have the inherent true belief, if I can use that word, that we're all souls, so we're equal, we are all good. So it sort of restores my perception of reality.
So if those beliefs are so natural, that's how you've described them, I was thinking, I should be able to do this right now. I mean, this is incredible. It sounds so easy. So I have a question for you, and this is our episode actually. Why is it so easy but so hard to change?
Because the story of the soul, Kim, is just a fascinating story that we have a conscious mind and an unconscious mind. And the unconscious mind carries my history. And when I sort of do actions many times, it creates strong impressions and beliefs about myself and life. And so, on the surface, I meditate, I know who I am, I want to change immediately. But my old habits to feel hurt, to feel inferior, to feel this, to feel that, come back seemingly sometimes with more power than before, mainly because I now have the contrast. And this is the spiritual journey, I think, Kim, not to really give up, because to change, some things change fairly quickly. Some things change time, but some things seem like they're just like so deeply etched in my consciousness. Sometimes I think, I don't think I can change. I feel hopeless about change on some levels.
And funnily enough, Charlie, our show is called Masters of Change because when we founded it, we had this feeling that change is at the heart, isn't
Yes,
it?
It is.
That we can't just be the same. And you've talked in recent episodes so beautifully about the fact that we live in a universe that is in constant change.
Yeah.
And yet we want to be this one bit that doesn't change in a whole cosmos that is constantly rotating.
Yeah.
How weird is that?
On the one hand, Kim, the whole world's calling out change. Politicians change, society change, you change. But we are so terrified of change. When it comes to me, it's like you change and you change and you change. But when it comes to me, please don't ask me to change. Because when I feel vulnerable, I feel threatened. I already feel vulnerable when someone tells me to change. But yet, it's we really need the power to change. I think that's the key thing, that we want to change, but I feel weak anyway. And how can I change unless I really am empowered or I get power from somewhere?
This is a big question, isn't it, Charlie? How do I get this power? So I have a half answer and then a question. And it seems like we need to fundamentally change our lives if we're going to change. It sounds, well, it's that's a silly answer. But the change is to think, what are the spiritual values that make a good life, and how do I then manifest them? So I'd like to ask you, from the prism of someone who's worked in this organisation for so many years, how do you help people to go on this journey? Because I've seen you sit with hundreds and hundreds of people over the years, and you've guided them gently towards this path.
You know, I think that's a really lovely thing, Kim, because when I really love to sit with people, because I think deep down people yearn to change. And why? Because everyone has a vision of a better self. Every person, no matter how difficult life is, and sometimes some poor people are in terrible situations in life, but they have a vision of something better. And I think when you sort of tap them into their vision and sort of suggest to them, or sort of that a relationship with God is an instant source of power. Because otherwise, I really, between you and me, I just don't think it's possible, because we feel so overwhelmed by a whole set of circumstances and weaknesses. Where do I begin to deal with all this stuff? But a relationship with God gives an incredible honesty to see myself, courage to face myself, and power to change myself that I believe nothing else can do.
I'd like to paraphrase you, Charlie. It's like you're saying that the task in some ways is so great, so hard, that it's too hard for us by ourselves.
It is.
And we need first of all a relationship with God, but we probably need some fellow travellers to check in with as well, to make that a little bit kinder, that journey.
Yeah, that's beautifully expressed, because you know, I have said in past episodes, I've been with the Brahma Kumaris for 45 years, and I can say from my heart the love I have for this community is incredible, because I love the idea of, with fellow travellers, you know, to share the ups and downs of the journey, because there's amazing highs on this journey when you sort of have breakthroughs and you really feel that love of God. But then there's lows when your old habits come back, that subconscious, or the old natures like the sanskaras kick in so heavily sometimes, and hopelessness kicks back again. And I really think, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can change. And yet, every time you tap into God, you know, and that Greek word for God is theos, and enthusiasm comes from that. You know, when you love God, you get the enthusiasm to keep going, to keep moving. Because I've seen people sort of, they fly along and then they plateau, but even they sort of feel going backwards. And yet, if you just keep going, it's a gentle rising, you know, you're just gently letting go of the past and stepping into your higher self. And I have the utmost respect for anyone that takes on this journey, because it's the real pilgrimage of life. You know, in religions, we often go on these incredibly challenging pilgrimages up mountains and over, and yet the most challenging pilgrimage is the inner one, where I have to face my demons and face my past and face this and face that. But when I can hold the hand of a traveller like God, a fellow, like someone who's guiding me on the journey, I can do it. And it's possible. And really, I think it's really what life's about, you know. Getting the career out there and doing all that is good. It's really good. I think we have to express ourselves. But to me, when I fall in love with God, and that becomes, and I really express that in life. If I'm a musician, the music has some special quality. If I'm an artist, the art has a special quality. If I'm a parent, my parenting has a special quality, because it's coloured by a feeling from the divine, which I think is just the magic of life, that feeling you get from God.
Really, what you're saying is that we're craving something more permanent, that as good as any experience might be, and we can have some amazing experiences sometimes in this life, that will end. This too will end. That's a truism in our world. No matter how good or how bad it is, this too shall pass. But you're saying that we crave something deep, deep down in the bowels of our body, but really it's the third eye that craves it, is we're craving this eternal experience of pure love.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is, to me, the pinnacle human experience. That and the great paradox, Kim, isn't it, that we look for it out there. We're always searching, seeking, trying to find something. It's almost like everyone's on a search, but actually it's within me, and it's the search is an inner journey too. And when I open the key to God's love, and I really allow myself to experience the way that heals and settles and resolves and clears, is just incredible, because I think the highest human experience is relationship, and that's why we yearn for. Look at most people, they're looking for love, desperately looking for, but we often don't get that love, and that even increases my pain in life, because I don't really get the love I feel I deserve. But when I really go to God, and some people feel in this world that it's all a myth, it's a creation, it's a crutch you've created because you can't handle life, but actually it's real. And to me, I think I touch God with my thoughts and my intellect, as real as I see through my eyes and speak through through the senses. I can see you. Through my subtle senses, I can see and touch God too. And when I remember I'm connected, that's all I have to do. I just have to remember God in the form and the qualities, and it just brings out all my goodness automatically.
Charlie, that was a long and profound answer. Actually, there's a bit to take in, so I'm going to try and take it in for us, which is that you're saying that, of course, we crave this eternal thing, but it's the ultimate adventure in life. And so it's not this thing that we just have to do when we run out of all the things to do, when the career's not happening or the kids are grown up. This is the ultimate thing to do at any time in our life, and it can be our constant companion. There's a phrase that I love in Hebrew called, "You neither slumber nor sleep," to describe the presence of God in our lives. That if we want, we can have a constant presence of God. And that's what, and then you talked about enthusiasm, and as you spoke, you became so enthusiastic. It's because, we can see that you are proof of what you talk about, which is that you have worked on your subtle senses, and you're able to discern something quite interesting. It's like you're no longer seeking God, you're having a dialogue with your father and your mother. So I'd like you to describe, for someone who's got a bit of fear about this, how would that dialogue happen in your life?
Well, it's an amazing question, Kim, because I've been on a journey like you, and I went through a phase as a teenager where I was an atheist. I realized later I just found it hard to accept the God I was presented with, which had a very religious feeling. As I traveled, I became an agnostic. I'm not sure. But, when I started to really learn who I was as a soul and really explore this relationship, this permanent relationship, it is like how can you say, like a dialogue in silence, if I can say, because it's like the presence of God. What I found is that when I'm really soul-conscious, you're not pulled by your sense organs to sort of other thoughts come. When you're absolutely present with the divine, and it's like the dialogue is all these subtle feelings, and it's so powerful. Somehow it feels that the energy of God, the purity of those feelings, the sense of belonging, heals something inside. And after meditation, sometimes there's a lightness I can't describe. It's sort of a lightness where you feel you've been cleansed or something. That feeling that something's shifted inside of me. And many times I've meditated, and there's been a fundamental shift that's become a permanent part of me, and a lot of it shifts me back into a sense of this self-value we keep talking about. It sort of reinforces who I really am, rather than the belief I had of who I was, which was my body conscious belief.
Charlie, heartening. It's a heartening response. So I've got one small, difficult question to ask. Imagining that we have met for the first time and I say, look, Charlie, I love that it's your experience. I just tell you, I need irrefutable proof to believe in God, so I don't believe in God, but I'd like to have as much of this experience as I can without believing in God. What do you say to me?
That's we've been sharing, I think that the beauty of life is that everyone is different, and I feel one of the great finding peace and contentment in life is to really accept that. And I often say that there's 3 layers of meditation. One is positive thinking. And a lot of people, I can understand it, I've been there myself, that if I can say we lose trust in religion, or the perpetrators of religion, maybe that's not the right language, but you know what I mean. Or there's self-awareness, which is soul consciousness, which I find that most people can manage. That's the second layer of meditation, which is you can absolutely taste true peace inside. But the third step I would call Raja Yoga, which means the king of yoga is the union of I, the eternal soul, with my eternal parent, which is the union with God. And that to me is the highest union of the mind. But that, I know that presses buttons in people, because the word even God is an association with religion and dogma, and and I can understand. One professor in Bombay told me that his research showed that 78% of all wars were begun by religion. So how can they say that they're the owners of truth or God? And that's, I feel, for me, when I really separated religion from God, that really helped me. I love religion in one way, but it carries a lot of baggage with the word God, and a lot of moralizing, Sometimes there's so much moralizing from religions. And a lot of people have had enough of that. I feel people want God, but they perhaps don't want all the associated traditions and belief systems and practices of religious institutions. And so when you do separate those, I think the real sense of my lover with God, I can just live my life, fulfill my responsibilities, and be in love with God.
Charlie, I want to really thank you for that answer, because I know that a lot of our viewers will have people in their families who are atheists.
Yeah.
And so the common thing will be, I have no use for this because I'm an atheist.
Yeah.
And so what you've been saying to people is that it's a journey.
Yeah, it's a journey.
It's a journey, and as things are revealed to us, that's fine. We're working with the belief systems we have, and we're being open to an expanded sense of consciousness over time. That's really what you've been talking about in all of these episodes. We're expanding our sense of possibility, and then we should be like scientists and work on ourselves and then report back with the findings.
I love how you said that, because Kim, I think meditation is like being a spiritual researcher or scientist, because you have to keep experimenting with new practices to get the experience. Like scientists will often work their entire life to prove a theory. And sometimes we just sit in meditation twice, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But actually, the more you keep experimenting with thoughts and feelings and becoming aware of the soul, you create a fragrance in your mind, which is so special. It's just amazing, isn't it? To sit down, using your thoughts without anything external, you create a whole feeling or fragrance inside of you that is so sweet and so sort of like a balm inside that cools you down and calms you down.
Charlie, I love the idea of cooling.
Yeah.
Because it seems like one of the biggest changes, we're talking about the courage to change really in some ways. That's where we're at now. It's not easy. We're not saying you can just make a cup of tea, put your feet up, and then it all happens for you. We're saying this is a lifetime and lifetimes of commitment
Yes.
to really do this stuff. But yet Charlie's also saying it's possible.
Yeah.
There's nothing to fear but fear itself. You know?
Yeah.
You know?
It's a great saying, isn't it, Kim? And I think that everyone who's listening to this, that it takes incredible courage to change. It really does. And we started off on this note, and I think what we're saying is that if we just open myself to the possibility of a relationship with God, explore it, it gives me an incredible courage to step onto the path of self-transformation, and not only to step, but to keep going and look at the things which are not so pleasant in myself. And if I do even change them a little bit, I feel so much better.
Charlie, with that optimistic note, can we settle in for some meditation?
When we change, the world will change. All of us are sitting in our homes, or maybe in our workplaces, and we see a world around us that is so challenging for the majority. So many problems and issues that need changing. So much needs to change, we wonder where to begin. But when many of us begin to change ourselves, it starts to create a massive energy of transformation in our world. In my heart, I really want to change, but often deep down I feel it's too hard, it's not possible. This part of me, my nature, is so strong, so deep. Where can I find the courage, the enthusiasm, the power to really transform myself? This is the magic of a union with God. I, the soul, absorb myself in the qualities of God. Yoga means union, connection. It's like I plug into an unlimited source of spiritual power that always keeps giving. You just visualize the divine, a sparkling star, and hold that image in the eye of my mind, and feel this eternal bond. I belong. I belong. The more I belong as a child, as a friend, as a beloved. I build the courage to face myself and start to change the old and step back into the person I know I can be. Sitting, absorbing in this connection, my whole inner world cools down. I feel loved. And this love and connection produces an extraordinary power to bring change. When we change, the world changes. When I change, the world changes. Om Shanti.
Charlie, you finished that beautiful commentary with two profound words, Om Shanti. And if we're thinking about why change is hard and that we need courage to change, maybe we can just take a bit of refuge in those simple words. If I am the soul, a lot of what is bothering me can melt away over time. And if my fundamental nature is to be peaceful, it is inevitable that I will be peaceful again. So what Charlie has told us about today is a fulfillment of our spiritual destiny. Yours, mine, Charlie's, Shivani's, the thousands upon thousands of Brahmakumaris meditators around the world, and the thousands and thousands of kind yogis who tell no one about their path. Go well, dear friends. Thank you, Charlie.
Thanks, Kim.